Welcome everybody to another episode of Ballin the Boot Playoff Edition, and it's Turkey Week, guys. So it's Thanksgiving is this week, and looking forward to it. Hopefully, everybody has spent some quality time together. Hey, maybe watching this show, getting ready for the playoffs. Maybe that's part of your menu on Thanksgiving week. But appreciate everybody for tuning in, and make sure to subscribe to our channel or Gridiron Football YouTube channel as well. We're posting a lot of highlights of our Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game commits. And we're also going to be posting on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. And today we're joined, as always, on this show. We had to change up the format because the playoffs have been going on as all the teams are marching on to the Superdome at the end of the year. We're joined by our Gridiron Football beat writers, Alex Allison and Daryl Felker. We also got an outside source as well. Appreciate Grant Sachere for stopping by of Crescent City Sports and River Sports Media. Grant did an awesome job covering the high school playoffs as well, and not just high school football in Louisiana. And guys, we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna get right down to Division One non-select, and we're gonna go over the results as well. But as expected, Neville was able to take care of business. They won 44-13 over Covington. Jalen Nichols is actually a Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game commit. Had 119 yards and 3 touchdowns. Cameron Rowell on the defense side of the football had a couple of interceptions. Now they'll take on Chalmette, who's just been the River Parish Killers, really. I mean, they defeated Terrebonne and Hanville back-to-back in River Parish. If this was Desherhan, I bet Desherhan would be a little nervous if Chalmette was playing this week based off the first two opponents. They actually had to come back from 21 points down and win against Hanville, 35-31. So it'll be Neville and Chalmette in the quarterfinals. The Owls trying to be that Cinderella team, but so are the West Monroe Rebels. They're coming in as the number 21 seed, and they were able to upset back-to-back upset seeding-wise. But this is a little bit more surprising. Going to Mandeville, defeating the Skippers. I know it was a tough time with dealing with the injury of Nate Shepard. You saw that they had difficulty in trying to replace him in his production. But West Monroe able to get a 20-9 win. Now they will take on Central, took care of business against West Washita, 45-20. Jackson Furman, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns. Defense force 3 turnovers. A big reason why I have Central making a run is their veteran quarterback in their defense. And you saw there making the difference there. But can West Monroe play spoiler once again? We'll find out about that. The game will be played at Central. You look at the bottom side of the bracket, Ruston was able to pull away from Zachary. It was a close game at first. It was tied at 14, but Ruston was able to outscore Zachary 28-7 the rest of the way to defeat Zachary Broncos in a rematch of last year's state championship game. They'll take on the Southside Sharks, and what a year Jess Curry is having leading the Sharks football team. They're able to defeat Walker 47-0 pitching shutout against a team that's given Dutchtown their only 2 losses of the season. So Ruston and Southside, no matter what, all the players that'll be involved in that football game will be sore the next day. That's going to be a physical football game on both sides of the football. And look at the last matchup. So we have Desherhan and Airline. So Desherhan and Airline also will be playing. Desherhan was able to dominate Northwood Shreveport 63-21. And then when you look at that game, Malachi Dabney had 6 rushing touchdowns in that football game. Now it's going to be they'll play Airline. We know all about Airline Vikings. So we talk about Ben Taylor throwing 2 touchdowns, ran for another. DJ Allen had 2 rushing touchdowns. Kenny Darby, the LSU committed, had 8 catches, 135 yards, and a touchdown. But the biggest news here was the defense. They were up 28-0. Were able to defeat Westgate early on, but they were up about 28. So big part on their defense, stepping up and having a big game. So those are your Division One non-select playoff matchups in the quarterfinals. Once again, Airline will take on Desherhan at Airline. Ruston will take on Southside at Ruston. Central will take on West Monroe at Central, and Neville will take on Chalmette. Now, guys, we're going to go right into it because all these matchups, I know we kept on asking which playoff matchup stands out most to you. Well, they're all good at this point of the year. They're all quarterfinal matchups. So we'll go and talk about each and every individual one. But I want y'all each individual thoughts on each matchup. So, Grant, coming up here first, Neville will take on Chalmette. Chalmette's been an interesting story this year, but Neville's been the number one seed, the dominant seed. Can Chalmette pull off the upset, or Neville just march to the semifinals?
Well, if Neville was in the River Parishes, they might have a shot. They might. They still have a shot now. Of course they have a shot. The answer is no, though. I think Neville. Neville is.
I'll be nervous as hell.
Even if it was Destrehan, I think Destrehan is a really good team. I think Destrehan. The only Destrehan's only flaw really for the whole season was that they're injured. Terrebonne and Hanville had certain flaws, right? Of course, Hanville is trying to build itself back up. Since the last 2 years, they've just been playing losing football. Then Greg Boyne came in and turned it around, and the Terrebonne is still trying to make themselves a program right now. And Tyler Lewis is doing a great job, but they're not there yet to where they want to be. While Chalmette went to the quarterfinals last year, right? Chalmette is one. I think they won the district back-to-back years, last few years. Not this year, but I'm talking about the previous 2 years. So Chalmette's a solid program. Jason Tucker's been there for a very long time. They're familiar with going to the playoffs. They might usually get the second round, sometimes making the quarterfinals, but they're used to getting in the playoffs and winning a game or two. So I think that's what led them to the quarterfinals, and they still have some decent players coming back. They had a guy come in from the car by the name of Tyree Dansburg, who's been a huge part of the success this season. And so, yes, I think of course they have a shot. Every team has a shot, but Neville, I just don't think so. The travel to Neville, that's a 4.5 hour drive. You're playing against a Neville team that is still a very good team. I know they lost Alexandria 42-16, but we're talking about Ash here. Ash is a really good football team, and they're expected to go to the dome. Since Indiana's now out, so their chances go up. But I think Neville's going to take care of this one. They're going to move in the quarterfinals where they'll play the winner of their West Monroe, their longtime rival, and Central. It should be Central in that one. I know we're going to break that game down in a second, but that should be a very interesting one in the bottom of the bracket. I expect Neville to make the semifinals.
Okay, there you go. So Grant's got Neville in the semis. What about you, Daryl? You got number one seed rolling on?
I'm gonna roll with Neville as well. I saw them for their only loss of the season against Ash, as Grant said, and I don't think that's a game that like we said before that you can really hold against them. But I do think that they would have rather see someone else because Chalmette is rolling right now. They pulled out 2 big games back to back. As you said, there was a comeback victory last week. They have that fight in them, that grit. They want to win. But I do think that Neville is just going to be the better team, and I think they're going to end up pulling out the win.
Yeah, going to Alex as well. So 2 for 2 for Neville. But if you're Neville, Alex, you have to be pretty scared. As far as the fact, this is a team that's been just on a heater, winning some incredible games. They kind of got that Cinderella run to them, the Cinderella X factor. And when you're a team that's playing like this, no matter if you're the better team on paper, you get a little nervous playing a team like that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a couple of these games that are kind of in that similar vein. I said last week there were 3 20+ seeds in this bracket that moved on to the second round, and I gave what I felt was kind of bold at the time prediction that one of them was going to end up making it to the quarterfinals. 2 of them are here, actually, somehow, and Chalmette's one of them. And Chalmette is an interesting story, right? Because I think you hit on a pretty interesting points that Neville isn't as. No, it's a fairly scary situation when you have this team that's just not afraid of the situation. They're not afraid of the teams that they're playing and are on a heater on this kind of momentum. At the same time, they're the 24 seed, right? Mm-hmm. And so, at the end of the day, you'd probably still rather want to play them than Hanville. I think ultimately.
Yeah.
Hanville lost the game. They were winning by 21 for a reason, right? And the comeback happens, and Chalmette ends up winning the game. But I think ultimately this is actually probably a pretty good draw for Neville, all things considered. And I do think Neville will go on to win the game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Grant. Actually, all three of y'all, Alex, Daryl, all of y'all. I have Neville moving on, and I'm playing the winner of the next game we're talking about. But Neville's just a better team. At that point, you can say Chalmette. I mean, despite seeding, they're on pretty even level with Terrebonne in Hanville, and Jane Williams has been a big part of their run. I mean, he's a Grand Football Player of the Week nominee. Anytime you have a receiving touchdown, you have a kickoff return for a touchdown to you to win the. I mean, that's saying something at the 5A level that have an impact on all three phases of the game. But at this point, I mean, Neville's just a better team. They have a better passing game. I'm talking about the passing game, the rushing attack with Jalen Nichols. Their defense is really good. They're really solid all the way around. So I'm going to go with obviously Neville. I think it strikes midnight for Chalmette in terms of their Cinderella run, but definitely going to be interesting to follow. Next up, of course, we talk about Central and West Monroe. Obviously, I'm really high on Central. I like their quarterback and their defense. I think that's a really good combination. I know everybody's kind of looking ahead at maybe potentially Neville and Central, but Grant, do you think that West Monroe can crash this party and prevent Central from reaching the semis and maybe making an all North Louisiana matchup?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. West Monroe, of course. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest high school football programs in the state's history. West Monroe, I mean, I know last year they lost in the first round, but that was the last. I mean, I think that was the first time they'd ever lost in the first round in the playoffs in the program's history. I mean, West Monroe has always gone far in the play. Usually, they've gone to the quarterfinals, so none of these guys are afraid of the moment. As a matter of fact, they play in one of the toughest districts, if not the toughest district in Louisiana. So they're not afraid of the bright lights when they travel to Central. Central, of course, is in the quarterfinals for the second straight year in a row. They have a lot of high expectations this year, given what they return, and then also Coach Semino's to been there and done that as a head coach at both Catholic Point Compete and Catholic of Baton Rouge. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a close one. I think this one, I think West Monroe is going to give Central a tough time because these are two very physical teams.
Mm-hmm.
They both like to run the ball, preferably. They also have capable quarterbacks as well. Kevin Davis, of course, is in the second year. He's done a great job of getting this team to where it's at right now, winning twice on the road. Can they win a third straight time on the road? I don't know. I think I'm going to pick Central in this one to move on the quarterfinals. The semifinals to take on Neville.
Yeah, for sure, Grant. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, 3 straight road games in a row. I mean, that's tough. I mean, any playoff stretch, and Central is definitely a physical football team as well. Daryl, what do you think? Do you like West Monroe's chances here? Or are you going to go with seeding wise and make it 1 versus 4, maybe in the semis?
I think, I mean, based off what we saw last week, I don't think besides a few select matchups, I don't think there are any games that we can just completely write off.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think West Monroe has a chance if they can show up and play their best game. But what I saw from Central earlier in the season, their level of defense, I think that's what's going to take them the farthest in the playoffs. The offense is great, but when it's like I saw it last week at the Ouachita Christian game, they won that game on defense. They had multiple stops down on 4th and goal. And I mean, that's literally what won them the game. And I definitely think that's what's going to help Central in this game. And I'm going to roll with Central going to the semifinals.
All right. What about you, Alex? We have Grant going for Central. We have Daryl going for Central. Are you along with the same crowd?
I think this game is going to be really close. I'm not quite as high on Central as some other people here. I watched them play Zachary a few weeks ago. It was in the rain, and I sort of got the feeling that it wasn't as I don't know. I just wasn't. I didn't come away that impressed by Central relative to some of these other teams. I'm gonna go ahead and take West Monroe. I don't think the gap between Central and Mandeville was that wide. And now the loss of Nate Shepard's big for Mandeville, but I don't think the gap was like this monster gap. And West Monroe didn't just beat Mandeville, but beat them by 11. I think that says something. There are a lot of other factors at this. Central had a bye. They obviously took care of business in the game after the bye, and West Monroe has 3 back-to-back-to-back road games. That matters. This game's going to be really close. This is like, I'm picking West Monroe, but it's like a 55-45 thing. It is not with an intense level of confidence. I think the game is, I would be very surprised if this was like a blowout one way or the other, because West Monroe is battle-tested. They are one of these high-ranking seeds that higher numbered seeds that it's because they played a bunch of these really good teams like Ash and Ruston, and they didn't get body bagged by them for the most part. They lost to Ruston big the last week of the season, but they lost to Ash by like 10. They lost to Neville by like 2 touchdowns. They're not as good of a team as these teams, but they're not. The gap's not huge, and it's a team that knows what they're doing. It's a team with experience, coaches with experience. I think it'll be really close one or the other, but I'll go ahead and take the upset. I will take West Monroe to win the game.
How about that? So Alex is going with the upset here. West Monroe advancing to the semifinals. I got Central before the bracket was even released. I had Central making it to the state championship game. I'm really high on the Central team. And in fact, playing a game like that in the rain, and it's tough, conditions are tough.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's what it is in the playoffs. And Zachary, maybe they're not as good as some other Zachary teams in the past, but they're still Zachary. They're still a really good football team. And for Central, I just like teams that have veteran quarterbacks. Jackson Furman, the Nicholls State commit, he can win you football games if you get a little bit more of a higher scoring game. And I think Central has the best defense in this bracket. Now Neville's defense is really good too, but Central's been really awesome all year long. So I like Central's defense. I think defense travels here. Now they're going to be at home. I think that helps too. And I know this is going to be a huge game, probably one of the biggest in a long time at Central. So I'm going to go with Central with David Semino. I think next year West Monroe could have a huge year next year as well because, like you mentioned, first really full year for Kevin Davis as the intern. But, with the year that they've been on, that momentum's going to carry next offseason. But I like Central, and I'm really feeling it want to have chalk. But you never know. Wouldn't it be crazy? We have West Monroe and Chalmette.
Yeah.
That would be insane with 2 20-seed teams. But we'll find out. We'll see which one we'll get in the semis. Now let's go to the bottom side of the bracket. Ruston able to take care of business against Zachary. I mean, first time Zachary hasn't made the quarterfinals since David Burton's been there. It's been since Neil Weiner was the coach, and Neil Weiner was at Dunham. I mean, he's at Dunham now, but he was at Zachary the last time they did not make the quarterfinals. So it's been quite a run for the Broncos, but they won't make the quarterfinals this year. They got Ruston. Ruston will take on Southside. Jess Curtis coming in from Manny, where he won a lot of championships over there. Grant, I think we can both agree that this will be a very physical football game on the field when we talk about Friday night between both these two teams. But who do you think comes out victorious in this matchup? The Sharks or Jess Curtis, or we're going to go with the defending state champs?
I think this is gonna be a close one. I think Southside's been playing some really good football as of late. The last 2 games, their offense scored 40+ points, and then of course have only allowed 10 points in the last 2 games. Which the second round game with Walker, they allowed no points, and Walker scored 41 points the week before, and then of course they allowed 10 points to Live Oak. So I think this would be a tightly contested game. Of course, just Southside likes to run the ball through their flexible offense. Jess Curtis preferably likes to run the ball and keep the ball in the offense's hands to make sure that the ball is on the other team. So Russ has got to find ways to execute with the very limited offensive possessions. So I think Russ can do that. I mean, of course, they got a lot of weapons. Of course, a quarterback – Josh Brantley is a hell of an athlete. He can also throw the ball down the field as well pretty effectively. Ahmad Hudson's one of the top tight end prospects in the country as a sophomore. And they also got a stout defense led by Aiden Andy. So this will be, I think, a very physical game. Give me Ruston to win 21-14 over Southside.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Lower scoring game, but it's going to be one of those that's just a great game. Defensive game we're talking about as well. I guess since I'm talking right now, I guess I'll make my pick. I'll have Ruston. Russin's actually my pick to win the state championship again. I mean, when you have a lot of that talent coming back, returning, I think it helps. You've seen what Opelousas is doing and the run that they're having. But here at Ruston, you return your quarterback in Brantley. You got your running back returning, Jordan Hayes as well. Your backfield returning. You got a guy like the tight end you talked about who's been playing since he was a freshman, and he's going to be a stud. I mean, once he really fully grasps the game. And talk about Aiden Anding on the defense side of the football. I'm not sure. We talk about Destrehan probably in the mix, but as far as a roster wise of stars and probably loaded rosters, Ruston probably has the best. So I'm gonna go with the Bearcats here. Now they're gonna get some trouble with Southside, but I'm gonna take some of that experience as well. Just Curtis in his first year with this program, so I think they're a year away still. But I'm gonna go with Ruston here to advance to the semifinals. Daryl, who you're taking?
I'm probably gonna roll with Reston as well. I saw Southside against Acadiana, and their Acadiana's offense was rolling in that game, and it never really gave Southside a chance to win that game. But these past 2 weeks, I mean, as you guys said, they've scored 40 plus points, 10 points combined on defense, and I mean, it looks like they're playing. Of course, they aren't playing against Acadiana level of teams, but it looks like they're looking a little bit better on defense. So I definitely think it's going to be a lower scoring game. And I think if they can hold Ruston under 20 points, then they'll have a shot. But I think if Ruston scores 20, 30, maybe even 40 points, I don't think that Southside's going to be able to keep up.
Yeah. And for you, Alex?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I think, Ruston was my state championship pick. I don't see a reason to deviate from that. We said for a few weeks that the winner of the Ruston-Zachary game might be the favorite to win the state championship. I don't feel differently about that now. Ruston.
There you go. Simple as that. So all of us going with Ruston to win and move on to the semifinals. And the last matchup here in Division One, non-select, which probably is the most toss-up on paper between Destrehan and Airline. We talk about Destrehan being on a heater right now. I mean, they really have been. They've been undefeated since Jackson Fields has come back. They have won 7 straight after starting the season 2-3 to start the season. Malachi Dabney, talk about the year he's been having. He's just come out of nowhere and has been running the ball. I mean, great find for the Wildcats. 6 touchdowns in the victory over Northwood Shreveport. But they're getting healthy. They've been hot. We know about Destrehan and their program and the state championships they've won. But on the other hand, Airline, this is one of these teams in the Airline, it's now or never, right? It's boom or bust. We got Ben Taylor at quarterback, one of the state's all-time leading passing quarterbacks. Got Kenny Darby as well at wide receiver. I know Jarvis Davis got hurt in the game. We'll see what his injury is for the Vikings moving forward. But the biggest thing, and Grant talks about a whole lot, I'm going to let Grant give his piece on this. Can these Shreveport teams get the knack for not being able to win the big game? If Airline's able to do this and beat Destrehan, they can change the narrative here. They have a chance to do that if they can get the win over Destrehan. Or Grant, do you think it's going to be Destrehan advancing to semifinals and making another run to another state championship?
This is gonna be a very interesting matchup. I think this is gonna be extremely close. If Destrehan was a fully healthy team, they would be a top 4 or 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason why they're the 10th seed is because their quarterback was lost for the first half of the year. So they started the season 2-3, and then they've now won 7 straight. The first round they beat Washington Parish 30-12, which is the game I was at, and now Washington Parish is a very good team. And then they defeated Northwood Shreveport 63-21, and I knew that Destrehan was a much better team than Northwood Shreveport, so that doesn't shock me that they beat them by that much. Airline, on the other hand, of course, we all know about Ben Taylor, we know about Kenny Darby, we all know about Jarvis Davis, and their offense is really good. Their defense also has its moments where they've been really good as well. I know that they allowed a lot of points, but a lot of that is because, when you go against offenses that score 50, 60, 45, 50 points a game, I mean, it's hard. And then you're also scoring a bunch of points. It's hard for the defense to, keep their stamina, especially when, the other team's going on and scoring. I think this will be a high scoring affair, as I think both the offensive, but these are both two really good offenses. These are two of the best quarterback and receiving cores in the state. I'm gonna have to pick Destrehan to win 49-42. I think Destrehan has been here. I've been in this spot before. This is a very big game. I think it could go either way, but I'm going to stick with Destrehan. I have Destrehan going to the state championship. I'm just going to stick with Destrehan to win big in this quarterfinal, 49-42.
Okay, yeah, definitely a shootout. A lot of people are expecting that type of shootout performance. Daryl, do you have Airline making some history here, or do you have kind of the hot team getting in the playoffs at the right time, playing their best football right now in Destrehan?
As you said, I definitely think this is the toughest game to choose in this bracket for this round. I mean, Airlines, the 2 seed, as we said, both of their offenses really, as you said, since Jackson Fields has come back, they haven't lost a game. The offense has been booming. I was there in the first round against Ouachita Parish as well. They looked really good. They looked even better in round two. And I think it's a really tough matchup for Airline. This game kind of, when I first saw the matchup, it made me think of the Captain Shreve and Evangel game, where it's got, like Grant said, high scoring, really high power offenses, and it's going to come down to defense, as are most of the other games as well. But I'm going to change my initial pick. I initially had Airline, but Destrehan, they haven't lost with their quarterback back. As you said, they started off rough. That's why they're the 10 seed. But right now, they're rolling, and I think that their offense is just going to have to outscore Airlines. And if they can do that, they'll win. And I'm going to roll with Destrehan.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. Is outscoring Airlines offense. We want to see how that pays out for him. Quite in time. All right, Alex, your turn.
Track meet on grass. There'll not the last time we'll talk about that throughout today, but this is one of those games that very high scoring. It'll be played in the 30s, the 40s, somewhere along those lines. I agree. It'll be very close. It's a toss up. One interesting circumstantial aspect that I think is worth bringing up, because I don't actually know which way it cuts, is that this will be the second straight long road trip for Destrehan. They played Northwood Shreveport last week. That was a trip to Shreveport to win and won handily. And then they'll be going back to Shreveport again this week, again playing Airline. Now, I think, conventional wisdom states that makes it more difficult for them to win, right? Because it's a back-to-back road trip. That can be tough. But is it instead that they know what it feels like? They're used to it now. They have experience going on the road, taking that long road trip. Does it actually go on to help them? And then if they were to, and we're looking ahead a little bit, if they were to win, then they would have a third consecutive road trip to North Louisiana when they probably play Ruston next week. And then we'll have that conversation again. But for now, I'm going to stick to my pick originally at the beginning of the year. I will take Airline to win this game. But I think it is a complete toss-up, a complete coin flip. I don't feel confident one way or the other. Destrehan, not just winning, but just annihilating Northwood Shreveport tells you a lot. That team's really good, and the game's going to be really high scoring. But I'll take the slightly more historically high flying offense and Airline to prove the haters wrong in some ways, right? The conventional wisdom around Shreveport teams goes a certain way, and to try to prove that stigma wrong, I will go ahead and take them to do that.
Yeah, this is going to be a toss-up, like you mentioned. I'm not sure what the line is set, but I'll be over probably. And usually, when you talk about both these two teams, Airline and Destrehan, usually Airline, these shootout games, Airline's pretty much unbeatable in these shootout games, and they've used to playing the style all year long. The reason I'm going to pick Destrehan here is because both these passing offenses, they're going to have their plays. They're going to have their yards. Like, both these quarterbacks are really good. These receivers, you won't have three guys that go to LSU at wide receiver in this football game. So, it shows you the talent at wide receiver in this game. But the difference in this game is the running game. And right now, Destrehan's running game is rolling hot right now with Malachi Dad. And I think the way that he's been running the football as of late the last couple of weeks, I think they can lean on that ground game, play a little bit of time possession as well. Maybe not because if you play this shootout track meet up and down the field with Airline, I'm not sure you win that game. But I think that Deschamps will try to keep the ball a little bit, play a little bit of time possession, and I think they're the overall team. When they're all healthy, I think they're the better overall team. So that seems a little bit deceiving because of the way they started the season, but they're one of the top, like along with Rustin, I feel like they might have the second best roster or first best roster in this whole bracket. So with that being said, I'm gonna go with a more talented team. I'm gonna go with Destrehan advancing to the semis, but that is gonna be a really good football game. So once again, Airline Destrehan, we got Ruston Southside, Central Western Row, and Neville and Chalmette for the right to play in the semifinals. So guys, thank y'all for tuning in. This is our Division One non-select quarterfinal preview. Make sure to go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And check out all of our other episodes as well. You can find us either on YouTube or on our website. You want to check out all of these other shows. For Alex, for Daryl, for Grant Sassery at Present City Sports, and also Rigorous Sports Media, I'm Jason Zern. We'll see you next time with another LHSA playoff bracket breakdown here on Ball in the Boot.